Hey, what's up guys? In this video I want to expound on the question of how much should I charge. You guys keep asking me it, so I want to cover it a little more in depth. And I've actually had Jake Weisler, my assistant, create a tool to help you guys know how much to charge. We're calling it a budget calculator. We provided a link where you can access this budget calculator and start using it to help you know how much to charge your clients based on your skill level. Once you click on the link, you will see this. The first step you have to do is come over here to File, make a copy, because the link we're providing won't allow you to edit it. So make your own copy first, and now you can come in here and start to edit your own budget calculator. So quick overview, first you see the production costs, you have post-production costs, and then you have all of your expenses down here. They will automatically add up all the totals over here, and you can see how much you should end up billing your client and how much you'll end up profiting. So I'm going to take you through as if I'm using this budget calculator to price out a project for a real estate agent. So first of all, I charge about $1,500 to $2,000 per day of shooting. So I'm going to put my day rate of $2,000. For real estate videos, I know that I can shoot those in about half a day. So I'm going to put 0.5 days, and you can see that the total automatically put $1,000 for my day rate to shoot a real estate video. Post-production, I charge about $100 a day, and we'll go over in a minute how to gauge what your day rate for shooting and your hourly rate for editing should be. But I charge about $100 per hour to edit, and I know a real estate video will take me about 5 hours to edit, so that shows me $500 total, and you can see those values have automatically added up over here. Then I come down to my expenses, and because most of them are pretty local, I don't have any travel expenses. I could throw on $10 for gas or something if I wanted, but I'm not that penny pinching. Then after travel expenses, you have the ability to add in some contractors. Contractor meaning a person you hire on to your project that you will end up paying. So the client pays you, and then you end up paying the contractor separately. And by the way, if you're going to hire on contractors, if you pay them more than $500, make sure to get a W-9 from them for those of you in the US, so you don't have to pay taxes on what you pay them. So here you have a bunch of options to add contractors. I personally don't hire anybody for my real estate videos. And then other expenses, music licenses. For real estate video, I usually have either $50 to $100 worth of music licensing fees, so I'll throw that in there. And I usually like to give myself a little cushion. So if I think it's going to be 50 to 100 for music, I'm just going to say 100. So up here you can see my total production, post-production, and expenses. So there you would have my total bill to client. Actually, for real estate video, I'd also throw in here a contractor, script, and voiceover that Dallin usually does for me, and I'd pay him $300. So there you have my total that I'd bill client, and I'd know how much I'd personally be profiting from that project. So when a client comes and asks me, what do you charge to do a real estate video? I'll say, okay, well, what do you want? Do you want a voiceover? Is it a half a day shoot, or does it take longer? How much editing do you want done? Do you want something super fancy, or need to hire someone out to do some VFX work or something, or is it just pretty simple, edit to music? Then okay, I know that that's what my normal rate for a half a day real estate shoot should be. Now, one thing I will say, when you're doing your editing hours, I like to factor in, give myself a cushion for revisions. I know it takes me about 3 hours to edit the first cut of the real estate video, but then I'm giving myself a 2-hour cushion in there in case they ask for revisions and say, you know what, redo it to a new song, make sure to add in a voiceover, make these changes, those changes. So I personally factor in the second, third, fourth cut into the number of hours that I will plan on editing that project. Instead of what some people do is they'll say, okay, the first cut's going to be $300, and then so they give the quote to the client, and then once the client doesn't like the first cut, they say, well, it's going to be an additional $200 if you want a second cut. Most clients aren't going to like that. Some understand the process of that, but a lot of them are going to say that's kind of penny pinching here, don't you think? So personally, I like to give myself a cushion for those revisions, but you guys can do it how you want. On the question of, well, how do I know how much my day rate should be or my hourly rate of editing? I provided in here kind of a general guideline to help you know if you're a beginner, which means you have low demand, you don't have a lot of experience, nobody's trying to hire you. I'd say $200 to $500 per day of shooting is a good range to charge. If you're intermediate, meaning you have a few clients, demand isn't super high, but you're getting some clients in there, then you can bump up that price. And if you're professional, where I'm at now, where your demand is high and you're actually turning down jobs and your time is then a lot more valuable, this is kind of where I'm at, a minimum of $1,500, and I'll charge up to $2,000 for a one-day shoot. And I've included in here some examples of my personal work that I've done at different stages of my career. So this was the first wedding I ever did, was this beginning wedding, and you can see how good I was there and kind of gauge and say, okay, my wedding video kind of looks like that, so I should charge what he charged, which is his beginning rate. And I probably charged $300 for that whole wedding. And then here's an intermediate wedding I shot, which is about a year into my career, and then a professional wedding, which was just recently. I shot last year. And then over here also a beginning commercial that I shot, first commercial ever, an intermediate commercial about a year into my career, and a professional commercial that I shot recently. So hopefully those videos give you an idea, and you can gauge against those videos your work to see kind of how much you should be charging based on how good your work is. And again, these numbers are just kind of generic. They don't have to be spot on in that range, but hopefully that gives you an idea. As far as editing goes, I would assume if you're a beginner shooter, you're probably going to be a beginner editor. So I'd match up your skill level of shooting to editing approximately. And I've paid editors who are beginners, not that great, not very experienced, anywhere from $10 to $15 an hour to edit for me. And the standard in the industry is around $30 to $50 is what a good editor can charge. And then professional, this is kind of where I'm at, $80 up to $100 is kind of what I charge. So when your client asks how much do you charge, you need to be asking a bunch of questions. Well, how many days is it? What do you want the edit to look like? Have them send you an example of the video they want, and then gauge, okay, if you want a video like that, it's probably going to take me 10, 15 hours. So you need to be gauging based off of asking them questions of what they want in the video, how long it's going to take you, and then using this, figure out what your time is worth. So hopefully this gives you guys a good idea. Let me just go through and give you another example here. So for a wedding, that's a full 1-day shoot. So I'd charge my $2,000 day rate. For the editing, I know it's going to take 15, 20 hours, about 3 days to edit the wedding video. So I'll give myself about 20 hours of editing time there. And you're not going to know this right away when you're first doing videos, so you're going to have to kind of guess. And then as you do more videos, you can start to gauge and know what your time is worth and how quickly you can do things. And then other expenses for a wedding, we'll say I'm gonna have a second camera operator. He charges $500 per day. We'll have a $100 music license, and that should be about it. So over here now you can see the totals: my 1 day to shoot, my 20 hours to edit, my music license, and my second shooter. So that's the total I will bill the client, and that's how much I will make. Now, one thing I will also throw in is sometimes you'll get a client who knows the budget, because remember, that's the first question you ask. What's your budget? Make them answer first. If they don't know the answer, that's when you start asking a bunch of other questions and filling this out and then giving them a price. But if they know their budget and they say, we have $40,000 in the budget, don't say, oh, well, actually, I can probably do it for $5,000, so you don't need to pay me that much. Don't do that. Figure out how to use all that budget to maximize your production and make a better piece for them. For example, instead of shooting 1 day, say, well, if you have that budget, say, I'm going to block out 4 days for us to shoot that. That's going to assure that we get a lot more footage, a lot higher quality footage. We can take our times on each scene. In this example, we're talking LG, right? So LG gave me a $40,000 budget. So this is kind of how I went about pricing it out for them. And then I said, you know what? That's a pretty extensive edit. They wanted 2 different videos edited. I knew there was going to be a ton of revisions. So I said, let's give myself about 40 hours, maybe 50 hours of editing time. It's going to take a week or 2 to put that together. And then expenses, I'm gonna hire a behind the scenes guy to come shoot all the BTS and shoot video of me, because it was a video showing me shooting with the camera. I'm gonna hire a couple of PAs to come help on set. I hired Dallin to come be my actor. I hired Chris Newman to come shoot 2 days worth of aerials. I hired Brendan, by the way, to write some custom music for me and do all the sound designing. There's probably going to be some location fees in there somewhere. We ended up having to spend, $4,000 on props. It's going to cost about $500 in gas, about $1,000 in hotels, and about $1,000 in food. And there you have about $40,000 budget. And then I can see in there about how much I know I can take away and profit from that project. Now with the LG project specifically, they ended up having a ton of revisions, way more editing revisions than I ever thought, and they loved the video so much that they said, make a brand new edit for us. LG wants a separate 4-minute edit that has this, this, and this. We'll pay you an additional $5,000 for that. And so I actually made about $8,000 more in revisions that I wasn't expecting to make, but they requested and said, we know you already quoted us for all this, but we want a lot more on top of what we initially anticipated. So they actually ended up extending the budget, and I actually ended up making a lot more in profit. But there you have a quick look, guys, at how to use this budget calculator. You don't have to mess with any of these values over here, these totals. They will add up on their own and show up over here, totaling to let you know how much you should bill the client and how much you'll be able to make. So hopefully this budget calculator will help you guys know how much to charge using these little charts over here and how to set budgets appropriately to make sure you're getting what you're worth. If you guys have any further questions for me, please let me know.